foremost, we got to understand, like when we get side control position, there's a couple things that we need to adjust in our side control so that our partner doesn't get their half guard back, right? Those things will definitely prevent us from being able to attack the back. So I'm going to show you guys from the back version first, okay? So whenever I get a good solid side control, guys, when we're here, got a good solid side control, the biggest thing that I guard is this foot right here, right? You see that foot? All right, if I leave that foot there, my partner, I'm not controlling his hips, can turn over on his side, he can step over that leg, and he can start to pull me into a half guard position. So I always take this foot and I put it here, all right? If I just put it the inside, my knee is giving me the exact same base, right? I go down on my foot right here, and that prevents him from being able to take that foot. So that right there will prevent a lot of things from happening when you get in side control for your partner, okay? So keeping that in mind as we do that, this is happening on the back side, so I'm always keeping that foot tucked. Okay, so the foot that's nearest the hip, I keep the knee in place, but I put the foot away to where they can't access it. All right, so when I'm trying to get the back from side control, what I want to do is I want to open up my partner. In order to open up my partner, I'm going to have to rotate north to south, right? You'll see me do that a lot in a competition, and like if I'm trying to attack your back in here, I'm going to move north-south. I'm not going to sit here in side control, right? If you just let me hold you in side control, I'm going to try to submit you, right? And if you're not actively trying to get out of it, if you're actively trying to get out of it, I'm going to move, all right? I'm not going to sit there, I'm going to move. So I'm not going to let you play your game because I know where you're trying to go. So I want to be a step ahead. All right. I don't want to just ever sit in that same spot. I know where you're trying to go, so I'm going to get ahead of you. All right. So if I'm in the side control position, right, my partner's going to be trying to get his frames in. He's going to be trying to get on his hips. He's going to try to get his knee in. He's going to try to step over that leg. I know all those things are going to happen. Okay. So since I know that those things are going to happen, I'm going to be aware and I'm going to start proactively moving when that starts to happen. All right. So if he even starts to get his frames in, if I'm here and I'm in a good side control and he's got no frames and he's got nothing to work with, I shouldn't have a whole lot to worry about. Right. But most people don't lay there, right? They're going to try to turn into you. All right, so he's established his frame. He's got his frame in my hip now. He's got a frame under my head. Now I'm going to start, I'm in the losing position. So me just trying to maintain this now is no longer being an advantage for me. So I need to start moving. All right, so whenever this happens, I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to pass it over his head, and I'm going to switch my hand to the opposite hip. All right, I'm going to pop up to my toes. Once I get in this position, I don't want to stay down anymore. I'm not going to be on my knees. My chest pressure is going to be on him. I'm going to be putting all my weight on him as I move back and forth. The reason why is because I want him squirming underneath me. My hand comes across and it goes underneath the shoulder on this side because as I start to move, he's going to start to turn into me. I'm starting to move, he's starting to turn into me, and I can rotate his arm with my arm as I rotate around. Right? If he recovers his arm, I'll go back and I'll do it again. I'll go to the other side. Okay? So what I'm doing is my hand is going underneath the shoulder here. My hand is blocking the hip over here. Right? I'm blocking the hip so that he can't chase me, but my hand goes underneath the shoulder so that I can start to turn him on his side. All right? Because what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to get my chest behind his shoulder blade. If I'm wanting to take his back, I got to get my chest back there. All right? So I'm here. I pop up on my toes. I start to move around. I start to shuck that here, and then I put my shoulder and my chest right on the back of that shoulder blade. All right, shoulder in that direction. Good. You stay here. All right, I'm blocking the hip. My hand goes underneath the shoulder here. I pop up on my toes. I start to walk around. My hand's coming over. Right, I slide my chest behind the shoulder blade. My hand goes behind the head immediately. All right, so I'm still on my toes. I'm going to immediately start reaching for that collar and trying to grab that collar. Make him just start to defend his neck. This is where I'm going to start to get my back from, all right? As soon as I got my shoulder on his shoulder blade, I can start to loop choke him here, but I can also just go ahead and take his back. I'm here on my toes. I'm going to take this back foot here. That foot is going to come all the way to his back, all right? I'm creating a ramp again behind his back. I'm going to reach underneath him. I'm going to grab real tight, and I'm just going to slide him into my lap, throwing the hook in, then throwing the second hook in. All right? We've got two ways of doing this. That's the way. First way is to ramp him. The other way is to step over him. Right? A lot of times when you step over him, they're going to think that they can recover the half guard, which is fine, because I'm just going to use that to take the back anyway. Okay? So let's show it. I'm in this direction. Now everybody can see. All right. So we're here. All right. I've passed my hand over. I'm underneath the shoulder blade. I'm blocking the hip. I'm rotating, 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 rotating that chest behind the shoulder. Reaching in here, trying to grab the collar. So you can watch my foot here. I'm up. Put that foot right behind me. Okay. So I'm holding in here real tight. If I can lean this direction and step over with my foot, that's what I want to do. A lot of times they'll shove that foot in and they'll try to grab half guard position. Doesn't matter, once I've already ramped him, this is just a matter of taking it back. Okay, so I don't care if he grabs it between his legs at that point, I can go ahead and take it over. All right, so utilize that step over if you can. It'll help you get the hooks in, so whether he grabs it or not. So what you have to really do as you're figuring this out is figuring out how to get your chest behind that shoulder blade, right? So as you're rotating from side to side and you're learning how to move your chest behind that shoulder blade, hand comes over, right? So I want this underneath the shoulder, right? I pop up on my toes, I start to come across, I start to move that, and I drop it. See how? Just let it slide down. I'm gonna immediately threaten the neck. So he's not worried about taking his back now, he's worried about getting shoved, right? Slap that foot up, step that foot over, right? I'm gonna start ramping him up, pull him over, set my second hook, and then go for my choke. Everybody got it? Sure. Okay, so you can do the ramp, pull it in, or you can step it over and pull him in either way. Either way will work, all right? So you're gonna have to practice that going back and forth and getting that chest behind that shoulder blade, all right? I'm gonna show you guys a few other ways to take the back from side control as well. Everybody got it? Yep. Let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. We're in side control position, right? When I'm doing any type of switch arm bar, my hand wants to come underneath my partner's arm on this side, okay? So I'm in my side control position. I'm gonna reach up, and I'm gonna attach myself to his arm, right? My hand's now gonna pass over his head so that I can lift him up onto his side, all right? So I lift him up onto his side, and I step over his head, all right? Yes. Now, instead of going into the switch arm bar, I'm gonna go into the Kimura attack. So my bottom hand's gonna come in, all right? And I'm gonna start to attack the Kimura. But what happens when anybody grabs the Kimura? They grab their belt, all right? This is where we wind up at, all right? So we wind up in this stuck position, all right? So instead of sitting here fighting for the Kimura, look, if I get the Kimura, fantastic. Pull it out, go ahead and get my finish, right? But if I'm sitting here fighting him and I know that he's got full-blown defense on, I'm just wasting my time, all right? So since I'm in this position, look, where my chest is and where his shoulder is, I just have to make the full rotation. So I'm just gonna step back off of his head, put my chest behind his back again. I'm gonna rotate that hand behind the head, and I'm gonna go right into my back attack again. Ramp him up, pull him in, set my hooks, okay? Right? Don't fight the Kimura if it's not there. Just go ahead and take it back and try to choke him. This way. Okay? So we're in side control position. We're gonna go attack for that switch arm bar. Put our hand across, pull him up on his side, step over, sit heavily on his head. I'm gonna pull that arm up. I'm gonna dive my hand in, and I've got that Kimura attack. Okay? So, but he's defending it very well. So I understand that. I'm gonna stay heavy on the Kimura attack. I'm just gonna back step off of his head. My chest drops right into position, right behind his shoulder where I want it. Now I let go with the top hand. Reach around the head, secure everything right here. I don't need to grab anything. I'm just gonna grab my own hand, his hand. I'm just gonna secure everything, okay? I'm gonna go right here, switch my hips, ramp up again, okay? I always want that top knee to be my ramp, all right? And then I'm gonna slide in, up, step my hook, step my hook. You can also step over him like we did with the first one, okay? All right. Give you that step over option here. Okay, so go in my switch arm bar position, secure that shoulder, pass my hand over, pick him up on his side, step over, both knees go to the ground, make my hand switch, go into my Kimura attack. All right, from here, right, I'm just gonna back step. Chest is gonna drop on top of the shoulder again, back step right here. All right, my chest is behind his head. I'm gonna let go, switch around, and grab right here, right? I'm gonna make my ramp, Boom. Step over this time. Pull in. Start attacking the neck. Show that.
Control.
Okay. All right. Good side control position. I make my hook. Pass my hand over. I pull him up. Step over. Go both knees to the ground. Okay, I go into my Kimura attack. Switch my arms. Make my hand switch. He's defended it. Can't finish that Kimura. So now I'm just going to back step off of his head. Back step off the head. Let my chest slide down into place. Once my chest is in place, he can't push back onto it. So I'm going to make the hand switch. Come underneath the neck. Grab that again if I want to. His hand wasn't there for me to grab. Told him I'm just going to grab whatever I can, right? I'm going to secure that. Make my hip switch again. Put my feet underneath. I see the opportunity for my foot to pass over. Pass my foot over. Ramp him up. Go ahead and take the back. Everybody got it? Okay. Let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. So this is a way to take the back that Hodger Gracie shows, right? So anything that Hodger Gracie shows, being one of the greatest of all time, he uses it so it can be done because he doesn't use overly complicated jiu-jitsu and he does stuff that just works, right? So, yes. So, all right, guys, so we're gonna take the back, all right? So we're in our side control position, right? All right, and so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do the exact same thing that we were doing before. We wanna pass our hand over, but this time I'm looking for a particular place to put it, right? So when I'm gonna pass my hand over, I want it to go underneath his shoulder, okay? So I want him to get up on his side. This will not work if I don't get him up on his side. So I can't be here and just underneath the back of his arm or the back of his tricep. I have to actually pick him up and put my hand underneath his shoulder, okay? So from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop down like I'm going into like a north-south choke, okay? So I'm coming down, I'm dropping my hip. All right. When I drop my hip, I'm putting my chest and my rib cage along his chin so that he can't turn into me. Okay, so I want his chin to be pushing in the opposite direction. I'm going to show this from that direction in a second. And then this hand, now that I'm secured in this position, I'm going to start to rotate north-south, and I'm looking to pass this hand underneath the other arm. Okay, so what I want to do with this hand is I want to feed this belt into that hand and make sure that I have this grip. So I'm underneath the shoulder and I've also got that belt grip, okay? This is obviously only gonna work if you're in a match and the guy's belt is still tied. If it's not tied, then this is not gonna work, right? Trying to get his pants to my hand is probably not gonna work. All right, so this is gonna pass over here on this exact same thing, and I'm gonna do the exact same grip on the other side. Now, I don't have to get my hand under his shoulder on this side. I just need it under on this side, okay, in order for this to work. Okay, so I'm in this north-south choke type position. I've got belt grips on both sides, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my knee up underneath me again, okay? So this time, this knee is coming towards the top of his head. It actually touched the back of his head, and I'm gonna pull my foot up underneath me, right here, all right? So his head is in a very, very awkward position. But as I start to sit back, it pops right out, right? Comes out. And I've got the back, all right? From here, I start to take it out. All right?
Sorry, the veins in your head are bulging.
It's like the baby was born.
That's not the direction it usually is.
It was the opposite. It was like, all right, so again, we're in a side control position, right? I'm gonna pass my hand over, right? So I'm probably in that exact same position where I'm gonna do the crossover arm bar, except for I'm just gonna use this to pick it up and put it underneath. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my belt grip, all right? So I've got my belt grip here. Now I'm gonna drop my knee, sliding it back and dropping my rib cage on his chin. See how that pushes his chin away? Right? And I'm gonna start to rotate north-south, making his head move out of the way so I can start to dive this hand underneath the other side and grab the belt on the other side. Okay, so that's where I wanna be at. Once I've established both grips and I make sure that I'm completely under the shoulder on this side, now I'm gonna start to pull my knee up. See how that picked up his head? Right? And I'm gonna put this foot up on the ground. Okay? So from here, I'm gonna lift, and that's what's gonna give him room for his head to pop out. So his head pops out, I pull him up, and I start setting my hooks, and then immediately, anytime you're starting to set the hooks, go for the choke, right? Automatically start choking from there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, again, we're here, right? So, as I pass my hand over, I want to get it all the way underneath. Now I'm going to get my belt grip, all right? Make sure I'm underneath that shoulder. Okay, so now I'm going to start dropping my hip on this side, and I'm going to start rotating towards his head, making his chin move the other direction. I'll pass my hand underneath. I'm going to grab his belt on the opposite side here, okay? Don't have to be underneath his shoulder on this side. Now, as I start to pick him up, I'm gonna pull my knee up under the head. I'm gonna step up with the other foot, all right? And then from here, as I sit back, I'm gonna sit up, sit back, and pull at the same time. Sit up, sit back, pull, throw both hooks in, and start to go after the choke. Everybody got it? Anybody see it one more time? All right, let's practice it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I think you rubbed some.
You guys are gonna smell your partner.